While clearing out my closet, I stumbled upon a dusty VHS tape. It was tucked away beneath a pile of forgotten memories, its label written in my mother's perfect handwriting. Science Fair, Senior Finals 2010. A blast from the past. Without thinking, I pressed play. Big mistake. My name is LaBrooks, and that video reminded me of why I spent the last decade trying to prove myself to a family that never even noticed. The footage flickered and sputtered, revealing my 16-year-old self walking proudly toward the stage, clutching my project on revolutionary cancer detection methods. It was the moment I had worked for, the moment I was supposed to shine, but no one seemed to care. The camera shook, its focus shifting away from me to the back of the auditorium. There, my younger sister Ivy was practicing her cheerleading routine. My father's booming voice echoed from behind the camera, praising Ivy. "Oh, Evelyn, look at Ivy's form. She's going to crush it at finals tomorrow." His words felt like a slap. My big moment, my achievement, became nothing more than background noise. I paused the video, my thumb hovering over the eject button, but something stopped me. Curiosity? Or perhaps a nagging feeling that I wasn't done with the past just yet. I pressed play again. The next scene showed Ivy's cheerleading finals. The camera never wavered, following her every move, capturing every flip, every smile, every perfectly executed routine. My parents cheered so loudly, I almost couldn't hear the crowd's applause. Ivy's team took second place, and you'd think they had won an Olympic gold. "That's my girl." My dad's voice cracked with emotion. They were gushing over her while my science fair trophy sat forgotten, sitting on a table behind them for just a split second before the video abruptly cut out. I stared at the static on the screen. It felt like the universe had hit pause on my life, leaving me stranded in a loop of invisibility. I reached for my phone, the familiar buzz breaking me out of the trance. A message from Mom popped up. "Family dinner tonight. Important news about Ivy. Don't be late." Of course, it was about Ivy. It always was. I glanced at my laptop, where an email from a biotech company sat unopened. It could be life-changing, either an acceptance or rejection for a position that would allow me to lead a research team focused on cancer detection. But I already knew there was no way I would bring it up at dinner. That would be Ivy's night too, wouldn't it? I stepped outside to clear my mind, and my neighbor, Mr. Peterson, was watering his plants. He took one look at my face and set his watering can down. "Find something you wish you hadn't?" he asked, his voice laced with concern. I forced a smile. "Just some old home videos," I lied, trying to brush it off. But Mr. Peterson didn't buy it. He squinted, clearly seeing through my facade. "The ones where the camera always seemed to find your sister?" I stopped dead in my tracks. He remembered too. "Yeah," I replied softly. "Those ones." He nodded, his face creasing with a knowing frown. I always thought it was strange how your parents filmed every little thing Ivy did while you were out there winning science fairs and scholarships. Never did seem right." Something in his words hit harder than the video ever had. Maybe it was the first time anyone had truly acknowledged how I'd felt all these years. "Well, I've got to head to another family dinner," I said, jingling my car keys. "Apparently Ivy has some news." Mr. Peterson's eyes lingered on me for a moment before he spoke. "Maybe it's time to give them some news of your own." I stood there, his words sinking in. News of my own. I thought about the email sitting unopened in my inbox, about the research I was doing that could revolutionize early cancer detection, the same project I had presented all those years ago at the science fair. A project no one had noticed. Maybe he was right. Maybe it was time. I straightened my shoulders, my mind made up. "Maybe you're right," I said, my voice firmer than before. "It's time they actually saw me." With that thought in my mind, I drove toward my parents' house. But this time, I wasn't just reliving the past. I was walking toward my future, and I wasn't going to let anyone, especially my family, keep me in the shadows anymore. I pulled up to my parents' house, feeling the familiar weight in my chest. It was as if my car was pulling me back into a past I'd tried so hard to move on from. As I stepped out, I could already hear the familiar hum of my mother arranging the flowers, fresh-cut roses, as always in the center of the dining table. Everything about tonight was already set. Perfect. Ivy was always the centerpiece of everything, and I was always the backdrop. I hadn't even walked through the door but I could already feel it, the invisible line between me and them, the one that had been drawn years ago and had never been erased. "La, you're here." My mother's voice was sharp, bright, like she had been expecting me. She glanced up from the table and gave me a quick once-over, her eyes narrowing, just slightly. "We're just getting things ready for Ivy's big announcement. You'll want to hear it." I nodded, offering my usual tight smile, trying to mask the frustration bubbling under the surface. The same frustration I'd carried for years but never expressed. Instead, I turned to the table and helped myself to a glass of wine. If tonight was going to be another Ivy-centric night, I might as well have something to numb the edges. I had barely taken a sip when the door flew open, and Ivy walked in, her long blonde hair bouncing with every step. Her smile was wide and perfect, the kind you couldn't fake. She thrust her left hand forward, and the massive diamond on her ring finger caught the light like a star. "I'm engaged," she practically sang, her voice a little too high-pitched for comfort. My parents went into full-blown Ivy mode, their faces lighting up. My mom dabbed at her eyes with a napkin, and my dad slapped Jake on the back, welcoming him into the family like he'd just won a prize. "Jake's been a blessing," my father boomed, grinning ear to ear. "You two are perfect together." It was like they hadn't even noticed me, standing there holding my wine glass, staring at them. It was like I wasn't even there. Ivy spun in a circle, her excitement filling the room. "We're thinking a garden wedding in June," she gushed, her voice rising in pitch. "Just like you always wanted for me, Mom." Mom, of course, was already pulling out her phone, showing photos of wedding venues. "La, you'll need to request time off work," she said distractedly, not even sparing me a glance. "We'll need you as the maid of honor." I blinked. "Maid of honor?" I repeated, my heart sinking a little further. Of course I'd be expected to be the one to make everything perfect. After all, I was just the sister who cleaned up after all the messes. The background player. Before I could say anything else, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out and glanced at the screen. The biotech company I applied to had just emailed me. The message was brief, but my heart skipped a beat. "We would be honored to have you lead our team. We look forward to hearing from you soon." I stared at the words for a moment, but just as quickly, I slipped the phone back into my pocket. I wasn't going to mention it. Not here. Not tonight. I could already hear what they would say. "That's nice, La, but you know what's really important right now? Ivy's wedding." I had lived this enough times to know how this would play out, but something shifted in me. I felt the pull of that offer, that chance to lead my own research project. It was everything I'd worked for. It could change my life. I couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. I took a deep breath and set my wine glass down a little too forcefully. "Actually," I said louder this time, trying to push the words past the lump in my throat, "I have some news too." Of course, Ivy wasn't paying attention. She was still flipping through wedding pictures on Mom's phone. "I'm sorry, what did you say, La?" she asked, glancing up briefly. "I might not be available in June," I said, my voice firmer now. "I'm waiting to hear about a research position." That got their attention. Mom's eyes narrowed. "Oh, honey," she said, dismissing me with a wave of her hand. "You're not still doing that lab work, are you? You're 28 now. It's time to settle down, like your sister." Her words were sharp, cutting, as if they were a well-rehearsed line, something I'd heard countless times before. She wasn't even looking at me, focused entirely on Ivy's wedding plans. I swallowed my frustration. "It's not just lab work," I said, my voice a little tighter. "It's revolutionary cancer detection technology, the same project I developed for my high school science fair. Remember that?" I glanced at their blank faces and knew the answer before they spoke. Of course they didn't remember. The science fair was just a blip on their radar. It had never mattered. "Well," Ivy said, her voice suddenly chipper again. "Speaking of high school, guess who I ran into? Tommy Phillips from the football team. He's single now, and I could totally set you up, La." She smiled at me, her tone so fake it was almost painful. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "I need some air," I muttered, turning quickly and heading out into the backyard before anyone could stop me. The cool evening air felt like a relief, but I was still buzzing with frustration. I pulled out my phone again and finally opened the biotech email, reading it for the second time. The offer. It was real. It was everything I had worked for. Just then, Jake stepped outside, leaning against the fence with a cigarette in his hand. "Tough night?" he asked, trying to make small talk, but there was a strange tension in his voice. I nodded. "Yeah, you could say that." I hesitated before adding, "So, how's the wedding planning going?" "Everything okay with Ivy?" Jake smiled, but it was forced. "Yeah, everything's great. Perfect, even. Just a lot of details to iron out. You know, garden wedding, big family, that kind of thing." He flicked his cigarette away and ran a hand through his hair, but there was something off about him. The tension in his posture was too obvious. "You sure?" I asked, unable to keep the concern out of my voice. There was something in his eyes that didn't sit right with me. Something about the way he was acting was off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. "I'm fine," he said, his voice a little too tight. Just the usual pre-wedding stress. I was about to say something else when my phone buzzed again. Another email from the biotech company. They wanted my final decision about the job offer. My heart raced as I read the words, "The position is available immediately. Please confirm your acceptance as soon as possible." I typed a quick response, "I accept." And just like that, the choice had been made. I was going to take the job. I wasn't going to let my family's drama, their obsession with Ivy's wedding, or their dismissal of my accomplishments hold me back anymore. As I hit send, Jake stood up, brushing off his pants. "I'll go inside," he said, a little too quickly. "Wedding stuff to handle." I watched him walk away, but I didn't feel like I had the energy to confront him yet. Whatever was going on with him and Ivy, I wasn't going to let it drag me down. Not anymore. I had a choice to make. I could let myself stay invisible, or I could finally stand up and show them who I was. This time, I was choosing to be seen. I knew the family dinner would be just like every other one, focused entirely on Ivy's latest triumph. As I drove to my parents' house, the video from earlier still played in my mind, but this time something had changed. I wasn't just remembering my teenage self, invisible and unheard. I was seeing it all differently now. I was no longer the background noise. I was the one who had been ignored for too long. And tonight I was ready to be heard. When I pulled up to my parents' house, the familiar sights greeted me. The big front porch, the manicured lawn, the soft glow of lights in the windows. Everything about it screamed perfection. It was a lie, and I had spent years pretending it wasn't. I walked through the front door, the smell of Mom's cooking filling the air. It was almost overwhelming familiar, comforting but suffocating all the same. As expected, Ivy was holding court in the living room, a perfect vision of her flawless self. The smile on her face was radiant, her engagement ring catching the light as she waved it around like it was the most important thing in the world. "Oh, La, you made it. We're just waiting for the rest of the details for the wedding," Ivy said, beaming. I forced a smile, nodding. Of course, I wouldn't miss it. Dad was in his usual spot, sitting in his favorite chair, his eyes trained on Ivy like she was the only thing in the room that mattered. Mom, of course, was already fussing with the flowers on the table. Her movements were quick and practiced, the way she always did things efficient, but always for someone else's benefit. It didn't take long before Ivy started to gush about the wedding plans. "It's going to be so perfect. You know, a garden wedding in June. Jake's family is already helping with the venue, and everything is falling into place." I smiled, nodding along, but my mind was elsewhere. The email, the job offer, my future. "So, how are things going with your work, La?" Mom asked, finally looking up from her floral arrangement. I could see the hesitation in her eyes. She wasn't used to asking about my life unless it directly related to Ivy. It felt like a moment of forced politeness, something she thought she should do, but wasn't really interested in. I paused for a moment, the words sitting at the tip of my tongue. This was it, the moment to tell them everything, to tell them that I wasn't going to be their invisible daughter anymore. But as I looked around the table, at my mom's expectant face and Ivy's beaming smile, the moment passed. It wasn't the time. Not yet. I wasn't ready to share the good news just to be dismissed. Instead, I casually mentioned the biotech company, keeping my tone light. "Well, I've got a research position on the line. It's in cancer detection. Could be a really big deal." Mom barely looked up. "That's nice, honey. But don't you think it's time to settle down like Ivy?" She didn't even try to hide the condescending tone. "Your sister's getting married, and you're still, well, doing your thing." That was the line that always cut the deepest. The unspoken message, "You're not doing enough, La. You're not enough." I nodded, my smile tight. Yeah, well, some of us are still trying to make a difference in the world. Just as I thought the conversation would spiral into another uncomfortable silence, Ivy piped up, her eyes lighting up again. So, guess what? We're thinking of having the wedding in Vermont. Can you imagine it? A beautiful garden wedding, the perfect location, and, of course, we'll have everything we need to make it absolutely flawless. I forced myself to look interested, but the reality of it hit me like a slap. I wasn't part of this. I was just an accessory in Ivy's perfect world. A world where my success and accomplishments didn't matter. A world where everything revolved around her. "I'm sure it's going to be beautiful," I said, trying to sound supportive. "Vermont, huh? That sounds amazing." "Right?" Ivy grinned. "And we'll need you to help with the dress fitting next week. The wedding's in June, so we'll need to get everything finalized soon." "I want everything to be perfect." I felt my stomach churn. "I'll check my schedule," I said quickly, my voice flat. "But I might have other plans." Before anyone could respond, my phone buzzed in my pocket again. Another message from the biotech company. This time, it was a final reminder. "Please confirm your decision on the job offer." The pressure of the decision was overwhelming. This was my moment, my chance to step into the future, to build something that was entirely mine. But instead of celebrating my victory, my mind kept drifting back to the past. The science fair, the forgotten trophy, the endless years of living in Ivy's shadow. I stood up abruptly, excusing myself from the table. "I need some air," I muttered, walking outside before anyone could stop me. I stepped out into the backyard, the cool air washing over me. My phone buzzed again, another reminder of the opportunity waiting for me. The job, the future, the chance to finally step out of Ivy's shadow. But then I heard it, a voice, distant but unmistakable. "Rough night?" It was Jake. He had followed me outside, a cigarette dangling from his fingers. He was standing a little too close, trying to strike up conversation. "Yeah," I said curtly. "You could say that." I turned to face him, my mind racing. What was going on with him? Why did he seem so off? Jake chuckled, but it didn't sound right. It wasn't his usual confident laugh. There was something in his voice that felt forced, like he was pretending. "Well, weddings are stressful." "But Ivy and I," he hesitated, his eyes darting away for just a second. "We're doing great. Everything's perfect. Just a lot to figure out, a lot of details." I studied him, sensing that something wasn't right. "Everything okay?" I asked, my tone casual, but I was watching closely. Yeah. Just, wedding stuff." "It'll all work out," he said quickly. But the way he said it didn't sit right with me. The way his fingers trembled as he took another drag from his cigarette. Just then, my phone buzzed again. Another message from the biotech company. They needed my final confirmation. I looked at Jake one last time. Something was wrong, but I didn't have the time to dig into it. Not now. I had bigger things to focus on. I pulled out my phone and quickly typed a response to the biotech company. "I accept." With that, the decision was made. There was no going back now. Jake stepped inside, and I stood there for a few more moments, breathing in the cool night air. I had made my choice. I was going to take the job. I was going to take control of my future. And no one, especially not my family, was going to hold me back anymore. It's funny how sometimes it takes one small moment to wake you up from a decade-long trance. I drove to my parents' house after accepting the job offer. But this time, I wasn't just going through the motions. I was changing everything. No more pretending, no more being invisible. When I walked through that door again, it was different. The house felt smaller somehow, the walls closing in as I braced myself for what was coming. The family dinner was exactly what I had expected. Another round of Ivy's engagement talk. There was no room for anything else. Mom was at the stove, stirring something I didn't care to ask about. Dad was sitting in his usual spot, eyes on the game, but I could tell his mind wasn't really there. It never was. Not unless Ivy was the topic of conversation. Ivy, of course, was holding court. She was standing in front of the table, showing off her engagement ring, explaining every tiny detail of the wedding. And, she said, turning to my parents, "We'll need your help to make everything perfect. I'm thinking about asking La to help with the floral arrangements." She's good at that kind of thing, right? I smiled tightly, but my stomach churned. Ivy always knew how to rope me in without really asking. It was a skill she had perfected. Sure, Ivy. Whatever you need, I said, trying to keep my voice even. That was the thing about Ivy. She always had a way of getting everyone to rally behind her, and I was always the one who quietly did the work, the one who faded into the background while everyone else got the glory. But tonight, something felt different. I sat down, taking a seat across from Jake. He didn't look up from his phone, and I couldn't help but notice the way he kept checking his messages. It was subtle, but I could see it, a pattern forming. Something wasn't right. So, I said casually, breaking the silence, "How's everything going with the wedding planning?" Jake looked up at me, his face a little too blank. "Everything's fine," he said quickly, his smile too wide. "Just a lot of little details, you know." I raised an eyebrow. "Details, huh?" I said, trying to sound casual, but my mind was already racing. There was something in his voice that didn't sit right. It wasn't just the forced cheerfulness. It was the way he was acting like he was trying to keep something hidden. "Well, we'll need to finalize the venue," Ivy said, smiling at him. "Jake's family is helping with that, so it's all under control." I nodded, but I was barely listening. The whole conversation was just background noise to me now. It was like they were playing out their perfect little scene, and I wasn't even a part of it. No one was paying attention to me, except maybe Jake. And even then, I wasn't sure what was real. I glanced at my phone. There was another message. The biotech company had sent me a follow-up email. "We are excited to welcome you aboard. Please confirm your start date. We look forward to your leadership." I felt a rush of excitement. This was it. The opportunity I had worked for. The chance to be seen. But as soon as the thought crossed my mind, it was replaced by something else, a familiar, gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. I knew I couldn't keep ignoring the fact that Ivy and Jake were hiding something from me. I felt my phone vibrate again. This time, it was a text from Aunt Felicity. "Jake has been making large withdrawals from Ivy's account. Be careful." I stared at the message, my heart sinking. I had noticed the odd way Jake had been acting earlier, the way his fingers had trembled when he was talking to me outside. It wasn't just pre-wedding jitters. Something was happening, and I wasn't going to let it slip by me this time. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had a responsibility to protect Ivy, even if she didn't see it herself. I pushed the phone back into my pocket, but the unease only grew. I needed to get to the bottom of this, and I needed to do it fast. The conversation continued around me, but my mind wasn't in the room anymore. My thoughts kept circling back to the email, to Aunt Felicity's message, and to the nagging feeling that Jake was hiding something. I watched him out of the corner of my eye, his eyes flicking to his phone again, his fingers tapping nervously. I excused myself from the table, telling them I was going to check my email again. No one really paid attention. They never did. The second I stepped into the hallway, I pulled my phone back out and opened the email from the biotech company. "Congratulations. We are pleased to offer you the position. We need to finalize your start date within the next 48 hours. My hands were shaking as I held the phone. It was everything I'd ever wanted. This was my chance to make a real impact, to do something that mattered. It was a step forward, away from everything that had held me back. But as I read the words again, something else lingered in the back of my mind. Ivy, Jake, the withdrawals, the lies. Everything had started to unravel, and I wasn't sure if I could handle both at once. I had to choose. I couldn't stand in the shadows anymore. I had to take control of my own life, but at what cost? I stepped outside into the backyard again, hoping for a moment of clarity. The night air felt cool against my skin, but it didn't calm the storm inside me. Just then, Jake stepped out onto the patio. I glanced at him, and there it was again, something about the way he moved. Something off. "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He met my gaze, his eyes flickering. "Yeah, everything's fine, just a little wedding stress, you know?" I nodded, but I wasn't buying it. There was something else going on. I could feel it, and I wasn't going to let it slide. Not this time. I turned back toward the house, determined to finally find out the truth. Ivy deserved to know what was happening, and if no one else would see it, I would. I wasn't going to be invisible anymore. I wasn't going to be the one who always cleaned up the mess. I was going to expose the truth, and this time, I was going to do it for me. As I walked back inside, I knew I had a choice to make. The biotech offer, my future, it was all waiting, but so was the truth. I could run from it, or I could face it head on. The dinner carried on around me, but I was already a step ahead. The time had come. I was going to make sure everyone knew who I was, what I was worth. And this time, I wasn't going to let anyone, least of all my family, drag me back into the shadows. The next few days passed in a blur. I found myself torn between two worlds, the job offer that could change everything, and the unraveling mess I was finally starting to see for what it was. It was like standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to leap into the unknown or stay where it felt safe, but suffocating. I had always played the role of the dutiful daughter, the invisible one. Now I was realizing that the only thing standing in my way was me. I couldn't pretend anymore, not with the things I had uncovered about Ivy and Jake. It wasn't just wedding stress, it was something far deeper. I wasn't just protecting Ivy anymore, I was protecting myself. And for the first time in my life, I knew I had to put myself first. I had to confront Ivy. The truth had to come out. But how do you tell someone you love that everything they believe in might be a lie? I hadn't even realized how deep the lie ran until Aunt Felicity's warning started to take root. She had sent me more messages over the past few days. Pictures, bank statements, withdrawals from Ivy's account, large ones, from places Jake had no business being. There were signs of something I hadn't wanted to acknowledge. Jake wasn't just manipulative. He was using Ivy and using her for something darker than I had first thought. The moment came when I couldn't wait anymore. It was late in the evening when I found Ivy in the living room, sitting on the couch, her usual smile a little too bright, her movements a little too rehearsed. She was flipping through a bridal magazine, completely oblivious to everything falling apart around her. I took a deep breath and walked in, trying to keep my nerves in check. "Ivy," I started, my voice steady but firm. "We need to talk." She glanced up, her face instantly lighting up at the sight of me. "What's up? You okay?" I could see the sincerity in her eyes, the vulnerability that only her sister could recognize. But that didn't change the fact that she had been blind to everything around her, to what Jake was really doing, to what our parents had done. I had to face the truth no matter how much it hurt. "I don't think you understand what's really going on with Jake," I said, sitting down across from her. "I've been looking into his finances, Ivy, and it's bad. It's worse than I thought." Ivy blinked, a flicker of confusion passing over her face. "What are you talking about?" I didn't hesitate. I pulled out my phone and showed her the messages from Aunt Felicity. The bank statements, the photos of Jake meeting with shady people. He's using your name to take out loans, huge ones. He's draining your account. Her face paled. She shook her head as if she couldn't comprehend what I was saying. No, that can't be right. Jake would never. I've seen the proof, Ivy. He's doing this behind your back, and you're not the only one he's targeting. I swallowed hard, the weight of the truth pressing down on me. Ivy, he's using you. And the worst part is, Mom and Dad don't even know. They're all so wrapped up in your wedding that they've turned a blind eye to everything. Ivy stood up abruptly, her hands shaking. "I don't believe you," she whispered, her voice cracking. "You're just trying to ruin everything." "You're jealous because it's my time now. You've always been jealous of me." I flinched, the words stinging more than I cared to admit. "Jealous? Ivy, this isn't about that. This is about you being used, being taken advantage of. And I can't sit back and watch it happen anymore." She backed away, her arms folded tightly across her chest. "I don't need you to protect me. I don't need your help. You've always had your own life, La. You've always been focused on your career, on your science projects, your research. Now it's my turn. It's my time." I felt my heart sink as I watched her retreat further into herself. I had always been the one to clean up after her. But this time, it wasn't about protecting her from herself, it was about protecting her from Jake. And from our family's denial. "You don't get it, Ivy," I said, my voice a little softer. "It's not about me being jealous. It's about me being here when no one else would see you. I'm trying to save you from something you don't even realize is happening." She shook her head again, turning away from me. "I don't want to hear it. Just stop, LLA." I stood up, frustration boiling over. "You don't have to believe me, Ivy, but I've done everything I can to help. You can't keep pretending everything is fine when it's not." I left her standing there, her back turned. the distance between us growing wider than I had ever imagined. I went to my room, slamming the door behind me. I could feel the weight of my decisions pressing down on me. I had tried to warn her, but she wasn't ready to hear the truth. She wasn't ready to see what I had seen. I couldn't force her to wake up from the fantasy she'd built around Jake, around her wedding. I couldn't make her realize what was at stake, but I could stop being invisible. I pulled my phone back out, scrolling through the biotech company's email again. My heart was pounding. This was it. The future. The job I had dreamed of. It was right there, waiting for me to take it. I had made my choice. I wasn't going to let this family, this town, this life hold me back anymore. I was moving on. I was leaving it all behind. And maybe, just maybe, if I made this leap, Ivy would eventually see what I had tried to warn her about. But that was her choice, not mine. I picked up my phone and typed the final confirmation. I accept the position. Please let me know the next steps. The message sent. And just like that, I was done. Done with the pretending, done with the lies, and done with being the invisible daughter. I had made my choice, and there was no turning back. As I stood up, ready to face whatever came next, I realized something. I had spent my whole life trying to prove myself to a family who could never truly see me. But maybe that was the point. Maybe I had to stop trying to fit into their perfect image of who I was supposed to be. I wasn't invisible anymore, and I wasn't going to let anyone make me feel like I was. The next few days felt like they were moving in slow motion. I had made my decision. The job offer from the biotech company was more than just a career move. It was my way out. It was my chance to prove that I didn't need to stay in the same place, stuck in the roles my family had carved out for me. I wasn't going to be the dutiful daughter anymore. I wasn't going to be the invisible one. But as I packed my bags and prepared to leave for the research facility, a part of me still couldn't shake the nagging feeling that I hadn't done enough for Ivy. That maybe, just maybe, if I stayed a little longer, I could get through to her. But I knew that was a lie. I had done everything I could. Now, it was her turn to see what was really happening. I spent the next few hours getting my things together, clothes, some books, and all the work one had done for my research project. I didn't even notice the time passing until the doorbell rang. I froze. I wasn't expecting anyone. My first instinct was to ignore it, to keep packing, but something made me walk to the door. When I opened it, standing there was Ivy. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling slightly as she held a crumpled envelope in her hands. "La," she whispered, almost too quietly for me to hear. "I need to talk." Something in her voice stopped me cold. I hadn't expected this. Not after our argument. I had thought she would stay away, that she would bury herself in the wedding preparations, as usual. But there she was, standing at my door, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. "Ivy," I said, stepping aside to let her in. "What's going on? Are you okay?" She nodded slowly, but her gaze kept darting between the ground and my face. It was like she didn't know where to start, but she was trying to figure out how to say what needed to be said. I'm sorry," she said, her voice cracking. "I didn't listen. I was so wrapped up in my wedding and everything, and I didn't see what was happening." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Ivy, no," she interrupted. "You were right. About Jake, about everything." Her eyes filled with tears. I found the bank statements, the withdrawals, the loans in my name, the way he's been lying to me, using me. It's all true. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. For a second, I couldn't breathe. I had suspected it. I had warned her, but hearing her say it out loud made everything real. My sister, the person I had spent my whole life protecting, was finally starting to see the truth. "I'm so sorry, La," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was blind. I didn't want to believe it. He's been manipulating me for so long. I thought he was perfect. I thought he loved me." I stepped forward, pulling her into a hug. It felt strange, but in that moment, it felt like the only thing I could do. Ivy was broken, her world shattered, but I had to believe she could rebuild it. "You don't have to apologize," I whispered into her hair. "You were never supposed to see it on your own. I should have pushed harder." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "No, you were right. I should have listened. I should have seen it sooner. I was so focused on my wedding, on making everything perfect, that I let myself be blind to what was really happening. I nodded, understanding all too well. We had both been living in the shadow of perfection for too long, but it was time to stop pretending. It was time to take back control of our lives. "I've been thinking about it," Ivy said, a new resolve in her voice. "I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to confront Jake, and I'm going to fix this mess." I wasn't sure if she truly believed it yet, but hearing her say the words gave me hope. She wasn't going to let Jake destroy her anymore. She wasn't going to be a pawn in his game. "Ivy," I said softly, "you can do this. You have to. You don't need him to be happy. You don't need anyone but yourself." She nodded, wiping away the last of her tears. "I know. I don't know how I let myself get so caught up in this fantasy. But I'm done with it. I'm done being the perfect daughter, the perfect sister. It's time to stop living for everyone else and start living for me." I smiled at her, my heart swelling with pride. Maybe she was finally seeing what I had been trying to show her all along. She didn't have to be perfect. She didn't have to live in the image our parents had created for her. She could build her own life, and it could be better than anything Jake or our parents had planned. "I'm so proud of you, Ivy," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You've always had the strength to make it through this. You just needed to believe in yourself." She smiled faintly, looking down at the crumpled envelope in her hand. "I'm going to fix this, Law. I promise." "I know you will," I replied, and for the first time in a long time, I believed her. But there was something else I had to do, something I couldn't ignore. I had made my choice, and I needed to face the people who had failed me for so long. The next day, I drove to my parents' house. The decision I had made wasn't an easy one, but it was necessary. They needed to know what had been going on, what they had ignored, what they had allowed. I had to confront them, my mother, my father, and even Ivy if it came to that. I couldn't be invisible anymore. I walked in, my heart pounding in my chest. Mom and Dad were sitting at the kitchen table, as usual, their eyes glued to their phones. They didn't even look up as I entered. It was the same thing, the same disregard for my presence, just like always. But this time, I wasn't going to let it slide. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice steady but firm. Mom finally looked up, her eyebrows furrowing. "La, what is it? We're busy." I didn't flinch. "It's about Ivy and Jake and everything you've been ignoring." The tension in the room was instant. Dad's eyes narrowed and Mom's face paled. They didn't like the direction this conversation was going, but it had to happen. "Ivy's been used, manipulated by Jake. You've been so caught up in her wedding plans that you didn't see what was happening under your nose. He's taken advantage of her, and you've allowed it." Mom opened her mouth to speak, but I held up a hand. "Don't deny it. I have the proof. The bank statements, the loans in Ivy's name, the way he's been draining her account." They were silent, their faces unreadable, but the guilt was starting to seep in. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. "What do you want us to do, La? I want you to open your eyes. I want you to stop pretending everything is perfect when it's not. I've been invisible my whole life, but I'm done. I'm not going to be the perfect daughter who just sits back and watches this happen anymore." They were silent again, but this time, I wasn't backing down. It was time for them to see me, to see Ivy, and to see the mess they had created. "I'm leaving," I said, turning to face them one last time. "I'm taking the job. I'm going to build my own life, and I'm not looking back." As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of Ivy standing in the doorway. She nodded, her eyes filled with a new understanding. "We were finally on the same page. Maybe, just maybe, we could both start fresh." Story 2, I was always aware that my sister would somehow outdo me. Even the day of my own wedding. Nora is precisely like that, at least in the view of our family, the center of the universe. However, I never imagined that she would even consider stealing my wedding gown. As the other daughter, I've been Alice for 28 years. The person who is dependable rather than extraordinary, who is pragmatic rather than lively. I'm reliving it all tonight at Nora's engagement celebration, as if I've watched the movie 1,000 times. "Oh, sweetheart, you look so beautiful." As she smooths down Nora's flawlessly done hair, Mom swoons. "Ashton is so attractive. As soon as I met him, I knew he was the one for you." I try not to think about how Mom hardly recognized my engagement to Nicholas 6 months ago as I take another drink of champagne. That's all she could do at the time, and he seems decent enough. "Could you get additional appetizers from the kitchen, Alice, honey?" Dad yells. Naturally, they didn't even glance at me. I'm limited to catering even at Nora's engagement celebration. "I'll assist." Nicholas squeezes my hand and murmurs, "I adore him for that, God." While Nicholas opens another bottle of wine, I begin setting out crackers and cheese on a dish in the kitchen. "Are you all right?" His voice is quiet with worry as he asks. "I'm all right. It's only a pause. I'm looking for terms that won't come out as envious." I sometimes question whether they even notice me. "Hello." His chest feels warm against my face as he draws me in. "I recognize you. I've never met a more remarkable individual than you." Our connection is cut short by a chuckle coming from the living room. When I turn the corner, I notice Nora narrating a narrative about her ideal proposal while holding a glass of court champagne. She goes on to explain that when the string quartet was playing our song in Central Park, Ashton went down on one knee. It resembles a fantasy. Mom wipes away a tear and sighs. I recall Nicholas's proposal as being straightforward, heartfelt, and ideal in its own right. Nervous and cute, he would make supper at home and ask me while we danced slowly in our little living room. Mom's reaction? "At least you're getting married at last." "Alice." The sound of Nora's voice interrupts my thoughts. "Where are the appetizers? Everyone is going hungry." With my best supportive sister plastered on, I pick up the dish and leave again. Grin. I hear it at that point. The talk that makes all the difference. Nora is talking to Mom about the wedding. She lowered her voice to a whisper on stage. I had Alice's clothing on my mind. Just beyond the threshold, I freeze. She purchased it for her wedding. Mom queries. "It's very lovely, isn't it? Furthermore, she won't get married until the following year. That outfit would be ideal for my garden ceremony during my wedding, which is in 3 months. Besides, it's only in her closet. She wouldn't mind, I'm sure. After all, you are her sister, according to Mom, and you would look amazing in it." I gripped the plate tighter. The dress I've been looking for months. The one with whom I had fallen in love right away. Mom refused to assist with the expenses as she does with Nora, so I began saving money for myself. "Tomorrow I will discuss it with her." Nora goes on. She will comprehend. She does it every time. I enter the room, and, with a bit more force than is required, put down the tray. A few heads turn as the crackers jump. "Is everything well, dear?" Dad looks at me at last and asks. I look across the room at Nora. She manages to seem a little sorry, but her gaze still has that recognizable, entitled sparkle that indicates she knows she will get what she wants. She does it every time. It's all right. Despite the anger rising in my breast, I say this in a firm voice. Simply ideal. I look across the room to my best friend, Samantha. She knows me well enough to sense the tightness in my jaw and the stress in my shoulders. I offer her the smallest head shake when she raises an eyebrow in inquiry. Not right now, because something changes inside of me when I see Nora revel in our family's admiration. A single, enlightening moment of purpose crystallizes years of being ignored, undervalued, and taken for granted. My sister is interested in my wedding gown. Okay, but she won't get what she expected this time. This time, I'm done being the person who always takes a backseat, the one who is understanding and realistic. Nora's ideal day is going to be anything but ideal this time. I was folding clothes the following morning when the doorbell rang. I recognized the person already. When Nora desired something, she could never wait. Alice. Swinging a luxury handbag, she walked effortlessly past me into my flat. "I need to discuss something essential with you." I continued folding coffee. "No time. Listen, your wedding gown has been on my mind." She sat down on my sofa. "Everyone has great posture and practice." Grin. You aware that my wedding is approaching first? Additionally, that outfit would be ideal for my garden motif. Do you want my wedding gown?" I put down the towel I was folding and looked directly at her. "Just to borrow. In any case, you won't be utilizing it for months." Her eyes were wide with practiced innocence as she leaned forward. "You understand how much this means to me, Allie, so please come on." There was another knock on the door before I could answer. "Of course, Mom." Girls had been brought back by Nora. "I expected to see both of you here." Mom rushed in with a bag of clothes. I took your dress out of the wardrobe at home, Alice, honey. I thought we could have Nora fitted quickly now. My throat constricted. Without asking, they had already stolen it from the house where I grew up. When my mother unzipped the bag and showed me the ivory lace I had fallen in love with, I gazed in awe. I did it, Mom. You entered my room. Sweetheart, don't be theatrical. We are related. Nora was already shrugging off her jacket as she handed the dress out to her. Oh, it's flawless. Alice, much better than on you. Nora's skin looks great in this color. I reached for my phone and texted Samantha, come over now. They weren't paying attention, so I responded, I haven't said yes. Mom was assisting Nora in zipping up the back of my dress, as she was already putting it on. God, oh God, Nora whirled in front of my reflection, gasping. I feel as though it was built just for me. Mom said, you look so beautiful, Alice. Your sister is gorgeous, isn't she? I gazed at my dress, the one I had worked so hard to get, the one I had fantasized about wearing while dancing with Nicholas, the one that embraced my sister's body. Remove it. Silently, I said. What? Nora scowled as she turned. Take it off, I urged. It's my gown. I purchased it for my nuptials. How acquainted is Mom's side? A sigh of disappointment. Don't be self-centered, Alice. You are aware of how crucial this is to your sister, who needs it first. Significant to her. I raised my voice. What about the things that are significant to me? Only once. You're acting absurdly. As she smoothed the lace around her hips, Nora said, you know I'll take better care of it then, and it's only a dress. The door exploded. Samantha stood there, her eyes focused as she took in the sight. What on earth is happening? Just in time, Nora smiled. Doesn't this outfit look fantastic on me, Sam? Samantha approached me directly, putting herself in my family's way. Ortiz, Mrs., with all due respect. Alice is the owner of that garment. You cannot simply accept it. Mom argued, we're not taking it. For family, we're borrowing it. Alice. Samantha faced me and said firmly, what are you looking for? I gazed at my mother, prepared to defend her golden kid at my best friend, and at my sister, radiant in my stolen outfit. The only one who appeared to notice me at all. Don't lose it. At last, I said, Alice. Samantha got going. Really? Don't lose it. Nora. Regardless, you always get what you want, don't you? What else is there? Avoid being theatrical. Nora gave an eye roll. I'll return it. In perfect condition. You will, I'm sure. In the mirror, I looked her in the eyes. I hope you get what you're due. Mom gave a hand clap. You see? That's the essence. Let's talk about changes now, Nora. Samantha turned to face me after they had taken my dress. Tell me that this isn't actually acceptable to you. As I approached my window, I observed Nora gently packing my clothing into her vehicle. It's funny, you know. I now know precisely what I'm going to do. Therefore, for the first time, I am truly fine with it. Samantha said, that look in your eyes is terrifying. I adore it. What is the strategy? I smiled as I turned to face her. To what extent are you familiar with garden fountain systems? Not a lot, but I'm open to learning. She smiled. Are we going to act evilly? Not malevolent. I took out my laptop and made the correction. Karmic alone. Did you realize that Nora picked the identical garden location where she spoilt my 16th birthday? The one with the lovely fountain in the middle. God, oh God, Samantha chuckled. I think this is going to be good. I got to typing. My smile is becoming bigger. Let's just say that on Nora's special day, more than only my outfit will look stunning. What do you want me to do? Nicholas's coffee cup was stopped halfway to his mouth as he gazed at me across our kitchen table. During the rehearsal dinner, simply keep Ashton occupied. Sliding him a slice of bread, I repeated. After that, take him out for drinks. That's all. He gently put down his cup as you and Sam worked on the fountain. Are you certain about this, Alice, my dear? With her laptop resting between her knees, Samantha was stretched out on our couch. I understand, she yelled. According to the maintenance schedule, the fountain is serviced every Tuesday. Thus, the wedding will take place precisely 4 days prior, when the last check is performed. I give Nicholas a firm squeeze. Believe me, I will not engage in any risky or unlawful activities. Just karmic, similar to your sweet 16. when Nora unintentionally poured punch all over your outfit just before your first dance. He arched an eyebrow. Just like that. Next to Samantha, the first pulled up a chair. Show me what you discovered. She swiveled the laptop in my direction. The technology that powers the fountain is really simple. In around 15 minutes, all we need is access to the control panel. And you're able to accomplish this? Since my relative works as a gardener, she smiled. I requested a favor. He gave a detailed explanation. Easy adjustments, timing mechanisms, and pressure valves. Nothing long-term. Nicholas arrived to have a look behind us. I clarified that I meant only a little rise in water pressure when you said adjustments. Just in time for the vows, when Nora is directly in front of the fountain, wearing my outfit. Splash! With a flourish, Samantha concluded. Nicholas responded, "You're both crazy, but I could see the corner of his lips twitching. I'm surely going to hell for laughing at this." When my phone buzzed, it was Nora texting me. "Tomorrow is the dress fitting. Mom says you ought to come. Be supportive." I showed them the message and mumbled, "Speaking about hell." "Excellent." Samantha straightened her posture. "I may inspect the location while you're at the fitting. I'll take Ashton to lunch, and the wedding coordinator knows me as your +1 anyway," Nicholas said. "Distract him. Perhaps gently propose that during the ceremony, people take pictures near the fountain." I gave him a startled look. "Are you in?" He kissed my forehead and drew me closer. "For years, sweetie, I've seen Nora and your parents treat you like a second-class citizen. I agree with you. If this is the way you must approach things, just swear to me that you won't do something from which you can't recover. Promise?" I gave him a strong embrace. "It's only water. Costly outfit. It's water, but only water." I saw Nora strut about in my dress the next day while I waited in the bridal store. In the lace, it had already been altered to fit her contours. Mom said, "It needs more sparkle. Perhaps we could adorn the neckline with some crystals." "No, Mom, I got begun." However, Nora had already begun to nod. Great concept. Just enough to make it stand out, nothing too garish. "You're okay with it, Alice? The additions will be paid for by us." I pondered the fountain, karmic justice, and perfect timing. "Nora, do whatever you believe is best. After all, it's your day." Samantha sent me a text and my phone lighted up. "You scouted after that. You'll be shocked to learn where the control panel is kept." "Alice, this is almost too simple." My thoughts were interrupted by Mom's words. "Are you even listening? We're talking about the changes. Apologies." I gave a charming smile. "I'm just arranging my own wedding for next year, you know, when that clothing was meant to be worn by me." Nora's face flickered with remorse. It was so short that I nearly missed it. After that, she returned to her normal self. "Oh, please. Another dress is available. I was supposed to get this one. Look at how flawless it is." The white lace caught the light as she spun around in front of the mirror. She did look stunning, I had to admit. Like a fairy tale princess. Unfortunately, there will be a plot twist soon. Once more, my phone buzzed. Samantha had the time perfected. "You must remain near the east pillar throughout the vows. Your cue place is there. For what reason are you grinning?" With her veil adjusted, Nora inquired. "Just imagining your ideal day." I said the truth. I'm eager to see how everything works out. Mom smiled, pleased that I seemed accepted. "Honey, that's the spirit. First, family. Correct? Correct?" I typed back to Samantha that I agreed. "Everything is ready. It's Operation Karma." I observed Nora admiring herself in the mirror, while recalling all of the slights and instances in which she had stolen something that belonged to me. Our parents had always picked her over me. She would wear my ideal dress to her ideal wedding in 3 weeks at her ideal location, and I would be the one making the decisions for the first time in our lives. Our family got together for what Mom called a special meal at Dad and Mom's house the night before the wedding. That meant something to me. One more Nora show. Recall the 7th birthday of Alice. When Nora attempted to blow out my candles, she giggled and swirled her wine. My candles were those. I stabbed at my salad to rectify it. My birthday was being celebrated. "You've just made up your mind to blow them out." "Did I?" Nora scowled. "Wasn't it my celebration, Mom?" Mom gave Nora a hand pat. "Does it matter, darling? Back then you girls shared everything." "Shared," I whispered. Beneath the table, Nicholas gripped my knee. In relation to sharing, Dad lifted his drink and spoke. On the eve of my lovely daughter's wedding, I would want to toast her. You have always been our bright spot, Nora. I put my fork down clatteringly. There was silence in the room. Alice. Mom's tone was foreboding. No, please go ahead, I said. Describe your bright star in greater detail. Perhaps because she disclosed my prom date, or the day she showed her pals my college acceptance letter before I even saw it. That's in the past. Nora dismissed it with a wave. You're being so theatrical. But why? Is it dramatic? I chuckled. Tomorrow, you'll be wearing my wedding gown. Women. Dad stepped in. Don't spoil the night. It buzzed on my phone. Samantha, for tomorrow, everything is prepared. Are you certain about this? I glanced at my relatives. Dad, as usual, avoiding confrontation. Mom's admiration for Nora and my sister, while also appearing naive and arrogant. I need to breathe. I pushed back from the table and said, as Nicholas began to stand up, I shook my head. I needed the backyard to myself. The old swing set was where I sat, the one where my arm was broken when Nora shoved me off. Everyone had claimed that it was an accident, similar to everything else. Thank you for sharing your ideas. I turned to find my dad looking uneasy with his hands in his pockets. I told her to save it for Nora's wedding present. With a sigh, he took a seat next to me on the swing. You know, your mother and I believed we were doing the right thing when you girls were young. Nora was really demanding. We assumed that since you were the more resilient one, you could tolerate receiving less attention. So it's all right because of that? No, he muttered. It doesn't. The shackles creaked slightly as we sat in silence. That dress, he began. I know you purchased it yourself, don't I? I noticed the receipts and the additional shifts you took on. He kicked the ground. I ought to have assisted. Yes, I did agree. You ought to have. My phone came back to life. The final time information for tomorrow is being sent by Samantha. I pondered the fountain, retaliation, and justice. Dad, I replied abruptly. Remember my sweet 16? He flinched. The event involving the punch. It was an accident, according to Nora. No, it wasn't. Later on, she admitted to me that she did it because she felt I was receiving too much attention. Alice. She will also be wearing my outfit tomorrow. The one thing that was all mine that I desired. I got to my feet. Tell me, what would you do, Dad? He gave me a prolonged gaze. Isn't anything going to happen tomorrow? I slowly looked into his eyes. Perhaps karma is at last catching up with us. After giving a hesitant nod, he took a check out of his wallet. Right here. For what use is this? Your gown? The one you purchased for yourself. Whatever occurs tomorrow. Your own ideal day is something you deserve. I gazed intently at the bill. Strict throat. Not a little late, isn't it? It's better late than never. He tried to grin. Please, just be cautious tomorrow. The heart of your mother has changed. The bill was stuffed inside my pocket. Dad, don't worry. Everything will go according to plan. Nora was back inside showing her mother what she had borrowed. Ashton's mother's diamond jewelry. I wanted to shout at the irony. She shouted out, Alice, you're there. Tonight is my last fitting, and I need your aid. A final time with my sister before the big day. I reflected about the fountain, karma, and my father's tardy attempt to make amends. I hesitated a moment. The outfit may require a few more changes, Nora continued. I take it that you're okay with us making a few more changes? Suddenly, I became more determined. Obviously not. I grinned. It should be a great day tomorrow. Across the room, Nicholas raised an eyebrow at me, asking a question. I nodded slightly to him. The strategy remained intact. Karma would arrive in full force tomorrow, exactly on time. The garden resembled a scene from a fairy tale. Rose petals were strewn all over the white chairs that lined the aisle leading to the altar. The fountain, too. Innocently, our top player rambled behind the wedding arch. Everything is prepared, Samantha muttered, coming to the bridal suite with me. During, I verify the time twice, until death separates us. What a spectacle that fountain is going to put on. I watched Nora spin around in my dress, which was now embellished with pearls and jewels. She had added. As the makeup artist gave the finishing touches, Mom worried about her veil. Alice, you're being incredibly silent. Mom pointed out. Is everything all right? Simply absorbing everything. Grinning, I looked at my phone. Nicholas Ashton's in position sent a text, convinced him that pictures would look great against the backdrop of the fountain. Women. The planner of the wedding stuck her head in. In 15 minutes, we will begin. Locations, please. Nora immediately looked vulnerable and grasped my hands. I take it you'll be right behind me? As my honorary maid. I just saw a glimpse of my sister, the genuine Nora, not the princess with the entitlement. She had changed. Before the tournament, I recalled us as children, constructing blanket forts and exchanging secrets. Prior to the partiality, Alice, before it all went awry, her tone faltered. Just behind you. I pushed the memories aside and reassured her. If I weren't here, where would I be? The music began. As I stood in line, I observed the bridesmaids moving forward one by one. As she went by, Samantha whispered each pillar while squeezing my arm. Remember, Nora arrived next, looking stunning in my outfit. On either side are Mom and Dad. As expected, the attendees gasped. As I counted, I observed the fountain spray and the sunshine. The ceremony got underway. The priest's remarks were scarcely audible to me. Too much attention is paid to timing and monitoring the water pressure as it approaches. Nora's form captured the light from my clothing. The vows were written by the couple themselves. The priest made the announcement. Ashton took the lead. His statements were real and nice. I nearly felt sorry for what was going to happen. Nearly. Then Nora began to talk. Ashton, I knew you were mine as soon as we met. Similar to how I've always known what I want and always managed to get it. Dad looked at me from the front row. He nodded slightly, as though he was aware. And I swear to be the focal point of your universe forever. My phone began to vibrate. Samantha. Signal. I moved to the pillar to the east, till death separates us. There was a little modification in the fountain spray pattern. A few patrons looked back, taking note of the change in tone. Yes, I do. With a smile, Nora concluded. For the last benediction, the priest parted his lips. 3, 2, 1. For one perfect instant, a huge burst of water flew skyward, striking the sunshine like diamonds. It was lovely. Then gravity took over. Nora Ashton and the immediate bridal party were soaked by the water, which fell like a tiny monsoon. My gown. In a matter of seconds, her garment changed from ivory to translucent. Her exquisitely coiffed hair fell apart. As she screamed, the extra crystals created rainbow hues by capturing the water like tiny prisms. My gown! She let out a scream. The fountain! Do something, someone! There was anarchy. The guests leaped to their feet. Some are fleeing for safety. Others are attempting to assist. The wedding organizer radioed maintenance in a panic. I remained dry and secure at my pillar through it all. Observing the course of karma. The control panel. A voice called out, "Where's the shutoff? This is awful!" Mom sobbed while attempting to cover Nora with a tablecloth. Who was capable of this? Samantha was trying to hide her laughing behind a bouquet of flowers when I caught her. Nicholas carefully maintained a neutral expression while standing among the groomsmen. Hold on. Nora turned to me abruptly and stated that her cheeks were dripping with black mascara. You. The only one who is dry is you. The harm was done, even if the fountain spluttered to a halt. Like a damp tissue, my garment held on to her. The extra ornaments are regretfully hanging. What are you discussing? I asked naively. It's only a glitch. As if my punching incident had been an accident. I was the only one who could hear her hiss. We gazed at one another. That moment was the culmination of years of competition and animosity. She was aware. She knew, and I knew. She was aware that I was aware of it. Well, I answered softly. Some things, I suppose, are just intended to be shared. Honey, you little Nora? Mom hurried over with more towels and interfered. Come on in, and let's get you dry. This is still salvageable. They hurried her off. I want Alice out of here now, she said. Dad looked at me again. I glimpsed the ghost of a smile, but he shook his head slightly. Looking frantic, the wedding organizer came up to me. It will take us around 1 hour to reset. Could you assist with guest coordination? Of course, I said. It's my sister's ideal day, after all. What else may go wrong? Behind me. The thunder rumbled menacingly. Rain wasn't something I had anticipated, but sometimes karma has other plans. As the wedding organizer hurried to get everything inside, the following hour was pure mayhem. As the storm moved in, I observed from the covered porch of the venue. Karma was no longer the only reason for perfect timing. It was found in the Bible. Did you give the rain an order? Samantha showed up next to me with 2 champagne glasses. Mother Nature is the source of it. Taking a glass, I said. I could hear Nora's cries coming from the bridal room, but I'm grateful for her excitement inside. It's wrecked. It's damaged. The dress. It's all wrecked. In reference to eagerness, Samantha mumbled. Mom rushed out as the door flew open. Come on in here, Alice. I gave Samantha back my champagne. It's showtime. The bridal suite had the appearance of a battlefield. My dress was crushed in the corner, now a depressing sopping heap. 3 maids hurriedly attempted to save Nora's hair as she sat in her slip, her face buried in her hands and streaked with mascara. Make this right, Mom insisted. What should be fixed? I looked at my fingernails and inquired. Don't pretend to be innocent. Nora looked up and spat. Did you do this? My wedding was destroyed by you. Have I demonstrated it? I don't have to demonstrate it. The only one who wasn't saturated was you. You were grinning as you stood beside that post. Fortuitous coincidence. I gave a shrug, like the day you poured punch on my clothes for my sweet 16. Or when you unintentionally erased my email confirming my acceptance to college before I had a chance to view it. Alternatively, you might have borrowed my prom date. That was not the same. With a flurry of hairpins, Nora rose. They were mishaps. Were they? I moved in closer. Or were they simply your constant urge to steal what's mine and be the center of attention? Mom said, girls. No, Mother. I interrupted her. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss Nora's theft of my outfit. The one that I purchased myself. How you assisted her in accepting it. How you two have consistently stolen from me anything you want. Due to family sharing, Nora is even more in need of it. That clothing was necessary. Nora let out a scream. It was flawless. I owned it. In the ensuing calm, everyone jumped as thunder smashed outside. In the corridor, I could hear the visitors whispering to each other. Are you looking for something amusing? It's quieter now, I remarked. As I watched you speak wedding vows, I genuinely thought about halting it just before the fountain went off. You didn't cancel, but I almost did. Barely, Nora replied. No, because you had to come to terms with the fact that you can't always grab something that isn't rightfully yours. Repercussions? Mom's voice faltered. Do you understand what you've done, Alice? Your sister's wedding has been wrecked by you. No, Mother. Her precious moment was spoiled by me. There is a distinction. There was a knock on the door. Dad inserted his head. The visitors are growing agitated. How do I inform them? Nora started crying again. My wedding is ruined. Oh, don't be too emotional, I remarked, astonished at how at ease I felt. You have a damp dress. Not ruined. There are industrial dryers at the location. You can still wear a wet dress to your wedding today. She let out a cry. A dress is better than none at all. That's what I'll have for my wedding now, as I mentioned. Regarding that, Dad cleared his throat. I called a few people. That store where you first made your purchase. Another dress is being held for you. A distinct style. It's even better than the first one, though, they said. They all turned to look at him. What are you? Mom inquired. The least I could do was that. His eyes met mine as he spoke. After everything. Between us, Nora glanced. A dawn of realization. You were aware that she blamed her father. She was plotting this, as you knew. He said, I knew something was coming. Can't say I blamed her. This is ridiculous, Mom sputtered. We are related. We're meant to assist each other. That's right. I said, support, not take, not steal, not constantly prefer one over the other. Another knock. The wedding organizer this time. The dryers are ready, and we've reconfigured the inside ceremony space. It's actually rather gorgeous with the rain as a backdrop. Should we proceed? Nora gazed at her reflection in the mirror. Makeup destroyed, hair a disaster, my garment hanging limply on the hanger. Then she stared at me. What do you know? Indeed. We'll go forward. She straightened up. Dry me off. Let's get my makeup fixed and get started. Alice, however, indeed. We're done after today. We're done, sister or not. I felt strangely light as I nodded. It seems reasonable. Do you need assistance applying makeup? Leave. I started to go out. but stopped at the door. As far as it goes, Nora, I adored the outfit so much. Samantha carried our saved champagne outside and waited. The wedding will continue, nevertheless. Removing my glass, I said. However, I just lost a sibling. Samantha clinked her glass against mine and corrected me. You've just discovered who you are. The rain kept coming down, cleaning everything. Although it wasn't exactly the fairy tale Nora had imagined, the inside ceremony proceeded according to schedule. Even though it was largely dry, my outfit no longer looked as immaculate. Some of the extra crystals were completely absent, while others hung limply. She nevertheless proceeded down the improvised aisle. Chin. Hello, deliberately avoiding eye contact with me. No longer a member of the wedding party, I stood at the rear. Nicholas was holding me firmly with his arm around my waist. Are you all right? Before I could respond, he whispered. Mom showed up next to us. We have to talk, Alice. Not right now, Mom. Yes, right now. She took hold of my arm and dragged me into a deserted hallway. I waved Nicholas away as he began to follow. How were you able to? When we were alone, she hissed. Your own sister? It's impressive that you said it. Suddenly exhausted, I rested against the wall. How recently did you truly treat me like your daughter? Mom? Not only Nora's fallback. Not just the trustworthy one, but your daughter as well. Please don't turn the tables on me. You purposefully undermined her. The wedding is still going on, I interrupted. She continues to get married. Her flawless moment in my pilfered outfit was the only thing I destroyed. It wasn't taken. It was borrowed. Without requesting, without my consent, like every other aspect of our life. Mom's face fell flat. I have no idea where this resentment originates. We sacrificed everything for you. I corrected you, you gave Nora everything. Whatever was left over, I took. What's the worst thing, you know? It's not even visible to you. That is untrue. Really? You hardly noticed my engagement. When I used my own funds to purchase my garment alone, you assisted Nora in taking it. Mom, when did you last feel proud of me? Only me. Not compared to Nora, anyhow. She parted her lips, then shut them again. You can't think of one? We heard cheers from the ceremony chamber. It must have ended nicely for the vows. Mom put her jacket straight. I hope all is well with you. You will never get your sister's forgiveness for this. Perhaps not. I concurred, but I'm forgiving of myself for not being her for the first time in my life. What is the intended meaning of that? It means I'm done trying to be the understanding daughter and the ideal sister, the one who yields every time. I've had enough of being invisible. At the end of the corridor, Dad showed up. They are going to take pictures. Alice, perhaps you ought to depart. Mom took hold of my arm once more after I nodded. It's not over yet. It is, in fact. I took her hand away gently. I've given the boutique a call already. A new clothing is being held for me. One that is all mine. Yes, exactly. I have to leave now. Are you deciding not to attend your sister's wedding? I'm choosing myself, Mom. Through the windows, I could see Nicholas and Samantha near the doorway, maybe for the first time ever. I could see that everything was clean and fresh because the rain had ceased. Are you ready? Nicholas inquired. Hold on. The voice of Dad behind us. He extended an envelope. Mommy? I understand, but she doesn't yet. Take this. There was a check inside. 2 outfits worth. Get anything you want, Dad, he replied sternly. Whatever brings you joy. I apologize for everything, Alice. I gave him a hug, inhaling his aftershave's well-known aroma. I understand. Are you planning to attend Sunday dinner next week? He inquired. That's not a smart plan, in my opinion. Not for some time. He gave a sorrowful nod. We'll find a solution. Perhaps. Just the 2 of us, perhaps. Occasionally. That would be nice. On our way to the vehicle, across the parking lot, I could hear Nora's voice. Where is she? She can't simply walk away. Observe me, I whispered. I put Samantha's arm through mine. So tomorrow is dress shopping? In fact, I grinned. I'm considering dressing in a suit for my wedding. Something really different. Something really unique to me. Nicholas chuckled. I would love to see that now. As the photographer set up Nora's wedding party near the now calm fountain, we drove off. I saw my sister adjust her borrowed outfit one last time in my rearview mirror, still working to make a flawed moment perfect. What's humorous, do you? As we drove into the main road, I remarked, in fact, I feel lighter. That's the result of letting go of other people's expectations. Samantha made a wise statement. It buzzed on my phone. Dad texted me. I am proud of you, child. It has always been. Perhaps a few things needed to fall apart before they could be put back together correctly. Perhaps. Retaliation isn't always the greatest kind of retaliation, but speaking out and saying enough at last, and perhaps just possibly. Karma operates in enigmatic ways. To make things right, not only to punish. As I pushed the door open, bell from the stores sounded. Mom and Samantha are in the rear. A knife might easily sever the uneasy tension between them. Mom eyed the outfits on display and remarked, I still think this is a mistake. A dress is appropriate for a bride. Fortunately, that isn't your wedding. Next. I turned and walked up to the consultant. Hello. I am scheduled to try on suits. Mom sighed sharply, but sat down. She hadn't consented to attend today until after 3 missed Sunday meals, a heated phone conversation with her father, and a heart-to-heart. Even with running commentary, it was still progress. The consultant presented a number of choices. I had just managed to get into the first one, a traditional satin-lapelled white tuxedo. When the boutique rang once more, I apologized for being late, Dad yelled. There was traffic. He abruptly stopped and looked at me. Do you like it, kiddo? He gave a nod, strangely bright eyes. You appear to be yourself. At last. It's definitely different. Mom got it done. It's good to be different, Samantha stated firmly. Various methods. Alice really has a choice. As I adjusted the jacket, I looked in the mirror. No jewels, no lace, no expectations borrowed. Only me. Choices, Mom remarked thoughtfully. Yesterday, Nora inquired about you. There was silence in the room. I spoke in a neutral tone while I kept adjusting my handcuffs. Did she? She returned from her honeymoon with Ashton. She said she might go grab coffee. I warned you, Mom. I'm not pressuring. I've been thinking about what you said about making you invisible and constantly favoring her. In her lap, she curled her hands. Perhaps you weren't totally incorrect. In the mirror, I looked her in the eyes. Perhaps. All right, you were absolutely correct. She got up and walked over to stand next to me. Observing you in the outfit now, that is exactly who you are. I became aware that I had never really seen you before. I spent a lot of time trying to fit you, what I believed you ought to be. What? I missed you for who you truly are, Nora. Let me continue, Mom. I was afraid when you confronted us at the wedding, not because of the fountain you damaged. However, that was very amazing. However, I noticed you clearly for the first time, and I became aware of how much I had been missing. Dad cleared his throat. Kiddo, we both did. In order to properly confront them, I turned away from the mirror. Now what? Mom reached for my hand and murmured, Now, we begin anew, if it's okay with you, and if you'd like to get coffee with Nora. That's up to you, though. There is no pressure. Have no expectations. No more stealing items that belong to someone else. No more stealing. Mom concurred. She did, however, express regret over the outfit, the punch, the prom date, and the college letter. I couldn't contain my laughter. It's a long list. With the fountain, you left quite an impression. The consultant displayed an additional suit choice. This one with a light-catching, delicate pattern woven into the cloth. Just so. Samantha said, Try this one. It makes me think of water. Even though everyone moaned, I reached for it too quickly. It's never too early to seize the moment. Dad smiled. Mom asked Samantha about the wedding arrangements while I was getting dressed. Dad really listened to the responses and offered some venue-related recommendations. Perhaps a place without fountains. It also felt like my wedding for the first time. My decisions. My family is now able to visit me. As if it had been waiting for me all along, the new outfit fit me flawlessly. I came to a realization as I stood there with everyone finally looking at me rather than past me. Karma was more than simply justice or retribution. At times, it was about defying convention, about taking a position and making a statement. Well, I said, looking at each of them, what are your thoughts? According to Mom, it's ideal. And she meant it this time, similar to you. Does this imply that I may attend Sunday dinner in a suit? Avoid pushing it, she said. She was grinning, though. It buzzed on my phone. Nora texted, The coffee offer is genuine. No rivalry, no drama. Only sisters, if you'd like. Samantha shrugged as I showed her the note. You have an option. It's always up to you. Right now, I returned the type. I'm ordering my own drink, though. It was a prompt reaction, all right? I'm worthy of that. I came to the realization that sometimes the best retaliation isn't retaliation at all, as I looked around the store and saw Mom genuinely assisting rather than dominating, a dad smiling with joy, and Samantha planning more mischief. Sometimes it's just letting everyone else come to terms with the fact that you are who you were always intended to be. In reference to their wedding arrangements, I straightened my lapels and mentioned that